from Podcast from the Pit. I'm Eric.
I'm Casey.
I'm Bobby.
And this morning we have Bobby from Crimson Toys with us. We're going to talk dioramas. So I'm hoping to learn some stuff and just to give this guy a really big shout out and hopefully a push. And well, he don't need us. His work speaks for itself. Some of the best displays. I'm so tired, but here. Hey, Bob.
Man, how you doing this morning, brother? Just glad
I'm
to
doing.
be here.
Yeah, we like to check in with the chat, and our chat normally pops and cracks at like my knees and my joints. Morning, Todd.
Good morning. Oh, this
Hey.
is cool. It's
Ronnie's
Good day,
alive.
Ronnie.
Me, Ronnie, Adam, we all came home from Joe Fest sick.
Yep.
So sick.
Bad thing about Ronnie and Adam, they had to be on an airplane for 16 hours to get back to Australia. They crashed.
man. I came home sick last year from Joe Fest. I had a hot dog, didn't do me right. Lord have mercy.
Oh, that ain't no good.
Yeah, we're making toys, all right.
Yeah. Yorktown Joe.
Okay.
So, I met you at Joe Fest last year.
Important question.
118th or 112?
Well, that's a great question. One that still plagues me to this day. I am a 118th guy. That is what I am personally. Although I've been sucked into the 112th scale, and this year I sort of dove in and bought some of the. Caught a guy one night and bought some of the HasLab vehicles. Those are my first purchases as far as vehicles go. But yeah, initially I'm a 112 guy. 118th guy. I've made a bunch of 112 stuff. This year, I actually made it 3 years ago, and the rest of it actually sold this Joe Fest.
Nice.
And so I've got 4 sons, and of course, they're all into the 112 scale, whether it be Marvel, Star Wars, or G.I. Joe.
Well, one thing we say here at Podcast from the Pit is 1/18th is the Lord scale.
Yes, glory. Don't get me started. I do enjoy, I've got some of my guys, I do enjoy them, but being born in 72 and 10 years old in 1982 when the originals dropped, and living down in Noonan, Georgia, where Full Circle Toy is, shout out to Kelly and Richard down there. Me and my brother walked up to Kmart and bought our first G.I. Joe. So yeah, it's just hard to get past that kind of memory.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with a little show and tell. Anything new you pick up this past week, dear Casey?
This past week, I know Crash will be excited for me, but I did get my rock and roll pre-order in.
Sweet.
Which apparently I ordered 2, so I'm thinking we give one away.
Okay.
We'll figure out how to give one away.
Yeah.
And since Crash is on here, Joe Fest, he gave me the special Steel Brigade. It's pretty cool.
That's with the vac metal head, ain't it?
Yeah.
That's sharp.
That's sweet.
He says, I'm being converted. No, but yeah, I don't know. I do a little bit of everything. I also got
Yeah.
6. So.
Mainly, the main thing is buy what you like.
Right. But I want to show this off real quick. I don't know if you can see the gun,
Yeah.
but Wes went out and picked this up for me at Joe Fest. It looks really good on the Viper.
Yeah. I have that gun as well. That's a great group at but that's a great group. The guy does all those custom 3D printed. I think they're 3D printed. They might be resin, but they're great guns. I've got several shotguns off of him with flint and stuff. So, and I've got that one with my Viper.
I believe.
So,
Is he called Top Fun? Is that
yeah.
him?
Yep, that's him.
Yeah.
That's who made this.
Yeah, I did the same myself, and I was actually super excited to see those guns.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
Good morning, Jeremiah.
but you have anything else?
I got a ton of stuff I still haven't showed off from Joe Fest. Getting back to the best scale, got some Action Force.
Yep.
That I'm still going through. I went a little nuts on Action Force this year.
Nothing wrong with that.
No,
It's good.
but like I said, between working a lot and being sick coming back, I haven't had a chance to really go through my stuff yet.
Yeah. So I came back and from Joe Fest. I worked my last day at work. It's been miserable because I didn't get sick from Joe Fest. Yes, Palatoy Action Force. I didn't get sick from Joe Fest. Now I'm on a month plus long vacation. I mean, I'm just miserable.
Struggle's real, right?
Yeah. So I want to show off a little bit of what I got at Joe Fest here. I got the Delta 17 2-pack.
Hold on, let me
Oh,
make it big.
nice.
These guys are great.
Oh yeah.
I love these. These were my pocket figures for the week for Friday and Saturday. So they're great. And then I met the guys at the Finest. Some small donation. It goes to help Canine for Warriors. It helps put a canine service dog with veterans.
Mm,
Yes,
that's
I
cool.
am miserable. And then the Hellstorm.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely
Cool.
love this thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's all I've got to show off.
G.I. Jetman's giving you a yeehaw.
Yeehaw, G.I. Jetman.
Ooh. Cameron's gonna make a Robo Skull.
Ooh, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get Eric off of here.
Yeah, because we're going to lose viewers. So, Mr. Bobby, you got anything new?
Brother, I had such a good time. Normally, every year, I have 4 sons. Normally, some years I have as many as 3 of them with me. This year, I only had one of my boys with me. But Kelly and Richard from Full Circle came and held down the booth for about an hour, and that's about all it took to spend a whole lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But we had a good time. I met this fellow. Of course, I'm a maker, so anybody who creates Earth or After Invasion, he made this is a prototype. It's a purple custom Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. I told the fellow, I said, man, I'd love to get that. And he said, you know what? When we're done with the show, I'll let you get it. And then he ended up coming over to the booth and we ended up swapping.
Nice.
So great times. And then this year I got the my white whale that I've been after for quite a while. And I know this is probably not a big deal for some, but I've been searching for this gal for a while, and I'm excited to complete my
Nice.
dreadnoughts. So I came around the corner, and there she was staring me in the face, and I thought it's now or never. She seems to be getting more scarce, and the only thing I came to Joe Fest with a strong I'm gonna get this year was I had to get me I had to get me a $6 million man in the box, and I haven't even opened him yet. And I know he's playable, and I can't wait to. I like y'all. I've been busy with work and family, but
Is
I
that an
was
original
super.
box?
So, and I'm Earl, the fella who uh, makes these. He creates these boxes, and he rehabs the figures to where they're like brand new. He collects. I mean, his Bionic Man collection's ridiculous, but man, it looks like it's off the shelf from 1975, 76 when these things came out. And so, I've bought a few things from him over the years. And the past couple of years, I haven't been able to buy anything from him because I just keep missing them. And this year, I thought, man, I'm getting in there this year. I'm not gonna miss this opportunity to get one.
So Ronnie has a question here for you. Was Nerf gun Gopher Dude with you? Did you bring him?
No, no, no. Uh, are we talking about the fellow who's driving around on
I
the
think
golf
so.
cart with
I
the
think so.
massive Nerf guns?
Yeah, that was
No,
awesome.
that was awesome.
That's
I thought to myself, that is a rig. That's a setup right there.
that's going to be me whenever I hit to the point where I have to have one of them rascals.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, how did you get started into doing these amazing dioramas?
Well, I know this is going to sound funny, but 26 years ago, my wife got pregnant, and uh,
Oh
I was
my!
so I was so nervous about it. So, we'd only been married for about a year and a half, and I was nervous. And my wife was like, "You need to go do something." On the weekends, I was just jittery, and couldn't seem to get my head around it. That there's going to be somebody else on the planet that looked like me, talked like me, was going to be walking around. And My wife sent me out to the garage, and I ended up making, a diorama with my original '82 base,
Nice.
and my dragonfly. And what was funny is it wasn't actually my garage; it was my basement of the house we were living in, and I built it so large that I realized when we moved I couldn't get it out of the basement. Um, and
Yeah.
And so when we moved, I had to leave it there, which was hilarious. And then 2 years later, she gets pregnant with another one. And this time she takes me to the hobby shop, and I ended up buying one of those dioramas that you build a train set for. But instead of a train set, I built another G.I. Joe mountain with caves that the vamp would go in and things of that nature. Um, and so, yeah, every time she'd get pregnant, I'd find myself building something in miniature. Um, and so after 4 boys, it was starting to, and yeah, it was 2015, and we had taken a job. Um, I'm actually from Atlanta, born and raised there, and we had taken a job, believe it or not, of all places, in Houston, Texas. And between Christmas and New Year's, we usually spend that time with family. And that particular year, we couldn't get back, and so my wife sent me out in the garage and said, "Go do something, get away, go away. I love you, but you've been around too much." And so I
I
went
get
out in
that.
you get that, yeah. So I went out in the garage and I started building, and this is what I made out of wood.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
this is my scaled up battle tactical platform that sort of started it all. It's all out of wood. Everything is movable and playable and fun. And of course, my uh, the flak on here. It's the cannons are over there. But yeah, that's the only thing I use from Joe. But everything else, and it does raise up. And so I just built that the week between Christmas and New Year's, and didn't think anything about it. And he said, "You sound like me. I was married, had twins. Oh Lord, bless you, brother." And yeah, I didn't think anything about it. And in that time period, I met Ed and Matt, and Ed runs the show,
Mhm.
Joe Fest, and of course, I'd met Kelly and Richard from Full Circle Toy, and took pictures of it, and it just got into the Joe group there, and next thing I know, it just sort of blew up and went everywhere. A couple years later, I opened a Pinterest account, and it was on Pinterest, and I just saw it flying around the internet everywhere. And I had no idea it was even doing that. I went back to my day job, and so the Rec Room on Facebook is what I'm a part of, and so yeah, we ended up moving from Houston to Tennessee, and in that move, I had a little bit of free time on my hands, and I started building wood dioramas, but smaller play sets. Um, and then in that, 3D printing came along, and I thought, man, this is great. I can build it out of wood, the structure, but I build all the little details out of 3D printing. And of course, I bought my first 3D printer. I had no idea what I was doing. I was scared half to death. I'm not the sharpest tool in the toolbox, if you know what I'm saying. And I realized you have to use a computer and the programs, and I had to figure out all that fun stuff out. And my wife came home, and you had to have a level surface. And we were living in a rental house at the time, and the only level surface was a kitchen countertop. And she came home to a 3D printer on the kitchen countertop. And she said, "What in the world is this thing?" And I said, I'm excited about it. And she's like, "This thing's got to go." But she let me keep it there for a couple of months, until she had enough of it. And the next thing you know, just, it went from all wood to some 3D printed parts to all 3D printed with some wood parts, believe it or not, to add texture and things. And so, yeah, went from that one 3D printer in my dining room and on top of my countertop in the kitchen there, and now I've got about 12 of them I run right now. When there's, I don't know if you can see, I'm trying a new racking system. I'm only halfway done, but there's 4 back there, and I've got another bunch of them in the other room.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, Crashing made a comment about a figure I'd forgot that was gifted to me, and I grabbed it out of the cabinet real quick, and it was this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, even has a
Outback.
backpack. Yeah, Night Force Outback. He is officially the only original Night Force figure I have in my collection. And Crash, the Thursday at Joe Fest, I find him in the hallway, and he's like, "Look, this is for you." I'm like, at first he's like, "Look." I was like, "Oh, for me? Thank you." Wow. And he's like, "Yeah, it is for you." I was like, "Holy." I was like, "You're joking." I tried to get back to him. He wouldn't take it. He's like, "No, I got it for you, man." I was like, "Oh my gosh." I about fell over. He said he got it for a steal. So
Yeah.
he may have actually.
Crash is very generous.
Yes.
That's cool.
He may have actually
That's cool.
pushed somebody down and took it from him. I don't know. But still, I appreciate it.
What year did the Night Force come out in? Was that the later in the 80s?
Yeah. I never even knew it existed until I started collecting again. Here's the man to ask.
Will knows everything.
Yeah.
On his way to work. Wow. Thanks for tuning in.
Bless your heart, Will.
He does a great show on Sunday afternoons.
Yeah. Will's a great guy. But I think they were in either 88 or 89 Night Force.
That'd be my guess.
Okay.
Late 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'm like you. I didn't hear about that until I started back in 2015. Started collecting again. I think I probably got out of Joe's somewhere around 87.
yeah, it's the same with me.
Yeah,
And then like I started seeing whenever I started back in, I seen all these vehicles that were tiger striped. I was like, what in the world is that?
right. Right.
And the reason I didn't know about Night Force or Tiger Force is those were Toys R Us exclusives, I believe. And the nearest Toys R Us is an hour and a half from me, and we never went to Toys R Us.
Mm,
The toys were not for us, literally.
that's right.
We were
I actually.
spoiled. We had Toys R Us and Children's Palace.
Oh wow.
So yeah,
There was a children's palace right across the street from the Toys R Us. I only went to them once as a kid.
I actually worked at Toys R Us in my early 20s.
You are a god.
It was. I was in the. I had to run the bike department, brother, during the Christmas holidays. So
Oh, bless your
uh,
heart.
felt it was fun. This would have been the mid 90s, and I lived by a mall, and of course the vehicle I had kept breaking down. I can't begin to tell you how many times I rode back and forth to work on a 10-speed,
Yeah.
and but yeah, and I just don't even. Of course, that season of my life, your early 20s, and you're more concerned about cars and your life and work and girls, and
Yep.
of course back then I was very concerned about bass and how to make my entire vehicle shake. So sometimes the motor wouldn't work,
Yep.
but the radio always worked.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling you. I was right there with you.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
But
I collected. Well, not played with Joe's longer than I probably should have. I was still in high school, I think, when I stopped buying them.
I remember being old enough that when I would buy them, I would tell a fib that it was, somebody's birthday.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
nephew or something like that. It got to be feeling awkward. You
yeah.
know,
I just tried not to have any conversation with them. Just pay
that's
for them and
right.
go.
Don't
yeah.
even look him in the eye.
Now anymore, I'm like, yeah, it's for me. What are you gonna do about it, son?
That's right.
It's like
That's
I'm
right.
53. I don't care. I'll buy a
That's
toy.
right. Yeah. What do I care? I have a mortgage and
Yeah.
car payment.
Kids, grandkid.
Right.
Yeah, I'll buy toys. I don't care.
I
I just
have no
spent 4
kids.
days buying toys.
I'll go to Walmart and I'll be buying a toy and they'll be like, "Is this for your son?" And I'm like, "Nope, I don't have no kids. It's for me."
That's right.
Yep,
Todd
Todd's
is.
never grown up.
Yep.
Uh,
Being a grown up sucks.
I knew Will would know.
Yep.
I wish I was growing up and not out. That would be
Yeah.
great. I
Same.
Kind of
prefer
do
that.
both.
That's
I
right.
I did both and outgrew my hair. So
Bobby, do you work with any of the foam? Yes. When I first started doing dioramas, it was actually all foam, um, and I made a diorama for my boys for their transformers, and
that's
I
cool.
spent 2 weeks on this thing, and it was pretty big. And the cat came in from outside, and in about 30 seconds, made it look like Megatron had attacked with full force. And that was the moment I decided I can't spend that much time on foam, um, because of that. But I have been experimenting with hard coat. There are foaming hard coat systems that we use in the construction world, that will hard coat foam, and so, but it's just very expensive. It's
Yeah.
not really tangible for a hobbyist yet, and so I've been experimenting with a lot of different ways I can begin to use foam again in dioramas.
That's cool. But um, so how do you come up with your ideas to do these things?
Um, a
Or
lot
do
of
you,
times, Go ahead.
You just let your inner child run rampant, or
Yes, for sure. Originally, it was I was really into bunkers and World War II style bunkers, and things of that nature. And I've always got I've got things in my head floating around that I'm not sure I'll ever get to make, just because of the scale of them. Um, but I'll be watching TV or be on the internet, social media or Pinterest or something, and I'll see something that'll spark an idea. Um, what was that show? Man, forgive me. I don't play video games. Master Chief is the fella's name.
Halo?
Uh, Halo. I watched that particular show in that very first episode with that base with the tall wall, and I about went nuts. That sent me down in my basement for a week, man, just thinking of things. Um, and so, yeah, just when I see something that inspires me, um, I'll go crazy, and I'll think about it for days on end. Because there'll be some weeks that I won't be able to get to it or get to a computer. Um, and so I'll just have, Monday through Friday. And so I'll be thinking about it all week long. I'll even go to sleep at night. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it until I finally steal away down to my computer.
I get like that on things, and whenever I figure out how to go about it, I lay in bed at night and I'm like, okay, do this, 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 and this, and it can be dangerous for me
Yeah.
because I dwell on stuff.
Yeah. I think you have to have a little bit of that in your nature. Um, the I'm a remodeler by trade, and so I get to walk into somebody's house and transform their living space or kitchen or whatnot, and I find a lot of joy in that. And But it also helps me to think through the whole process, and the biggest thing is to be able to complete the process. And I think that that's helped me a lot in this because, like, this year was really funny. I finally brought some pieces that have been floating around my basement for probably 2 years, that I had printed, assembled, set to the side, and thought, because I couldn't decide on a color or what that piece was going to look like, and I finally finished it and brought them this year.
Yeah. Uh, but Casey?
Casey,
Sorry,
there he is.
I was muted because my dog's barking.
Oh, you're fine.
We do have a small video which I can throw up and pause, and you can talk on some of the pieces.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
great.
awesome.
That gives everybody a chance to see
See
your
some of your
work.
work. I know Joe Fest. I walk every time, or this is my second Joe Fest, but every time I'd walk by your booth, I was just like, "Good night, this
Oh,
is amazing."
yeah, good times. So that first one was last year. So what's a lot of fun? Yes, this one right here. That's the Cobra Mountain. So I have a lot of customers, and I have some wonderful customers, and they'll call me throughout the year, and they'll say, "Hey, have you ever thought about this?" Um, and I had a customer call me last year and say, "Hey, have you ever done an Eagle Force base?" And I said, "Eagle Force," and I didn't even recall Eagle Force from being a child. And so he gave me the lowdown, and he text me a bunch of pictures. And so last year I designed an Eagle Force base, and sold a bunch of those. And then Matt from 80s Toys from Princeton, Matt's crazy.
Yeah,
He comes over, and of course, I don't know if you know anything about Matt, but he's a Cobra guy all the way. And he said to me, he said, "Man, this needs to be a Cobra base." And so the funny thing is it was about 10 days out from Joe Fest. Guys, I had everything printed. I had base coated most everything. I thought, okay, I've got this. I've got 10 days. I've just got to detail paint. I've just got to break out my airbrush. No worries. And dadgummit, if I didn't send Matt and Ed a happy Father's Day message, And then we all get to talking, and then Matt said, "Where's my Cobra base?" And I went, "Oh Lord, I forgot all about that." And I actually jammed this set out in 10 days from the
Wow.
design, to the print, and the finishing. And so this particular set, the back piece there is actually almost 32 inches.
Yeah.
And it's actually heavy. There's about 10 rolls of 3D printing filament in this set.
Wow.
And so another one of my customers from the Eagle Force line said to me, there needs to be a jail cell. And so that's where that came from. And so, yeah, that's a great set. Matt took that home with him. And, I made a bunch of those last year for Joe Fest. I sold them for $350 a piece. And one of the customer gave me the idea, said, "Bro, I don't think you're selling these for enough." I said, I couldn't. It's hard to gauge sometimes when you're doing this kind of thing, how to sell something or how to price it. And by the end of it, I made about a dozen of them, and I mailed them all over the country, shipped them all over the country. And I did realize afterwards that I'd done most of those for free, but it was a great time
Yeah.
doing it, and I learned a lot, and so it was really cool. So this one was probably, out of most people's budget, just because of the size and scale of it. But man, what a fantastic piece, and man, I had a blast making it.
Hey, if you ever want to do some more for free,
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yep. The piece to the right, the yellow piece you see with the yellow towers, that was the piece that was floating around my basement for probably almost 2 years,
wow.
and I finally decided on a finish for that. But yeah, lot of fun. That Cobra set. I actually had to get out my DeWalt lights, and my neighbors probably think I'm crazy. It was midnight, and I'm out there on the side in my driveway, with the garage doors and lights on, and I've got two big, tall DeWalt lights, and we're lighting up the place, and I'm out there painting at midnight.
All
Somebody
right,
went.
Kiwi. Man, that's amazing, and they're solid because I was talking to you at the show, and you flipped one of the mountains or something on one of your displays, and I was like, "Holy cow, it's going to break his finger." I mean,
Yeah, it's I've so 3D printing is an interesting thing, and depending on what materials you use, and of course we know that 3D printing is not as good as some manufacturing techniques yet, but it's getting there. And so one of the things I've had to figure out over the years is the wall thickness, the infill, and all those fun things that will make it durable enough. Because when you cross over from a diorama is something that you look at, you can set your figures up on you, but it's not super playable. Oh, thank you.
yeah,
And but I've tried to make play sets that were playable, even if you've got a 10-year-old son, coming from a man with 4 boys, and so so I think I've gotten it to where I figured out that it's durable enough to where it can be played with, taken apart, disassembled, stored, gotten out again, and hold up to the test of time.
that's really cool. I
Ready
mean,
for the next one?
yes, sir. Let her rip, Tater Chip.
So this particular set, believe it or not, this is modular. And of course, I'm not the first person to think of this. This actually connects with Lego Technic pins, which is pretty funny because I don't. When I was a kid, I enjoyed Legos, and I have a son who's a Lego kid, and he has such a huge collection. But I saw a fella, in the GI Joe world making sets and connecting them with Lego Technic pins, and so I thought I'd give that a shot. This particular set, when I first created it, actually took up. I had to build a table in the other room, It's 4 feet by 8 feet, and when I was done, this entire set took up the entire table. That's how big the set was, and so I made. So if you can actually park 2 ACPs underneath this, under the backside of it, and there's landing platform, and those doors slide open.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's all modular. And so I met a guy named Joe this year from Vegas who just went. It is chain link fence, and by the way, that is not my chain link fence. That was gifted to me from another 3D printer. I'm trying to find his information here. I will find that and get that to you. Yes, I paint all of these myself. The painting is what a fun learning curve that has been, by the way. It's different when you can paint an entire house in an afternoon as a contractor, and then you go through, and then you get out an airbrush. And believe me when I tell you, there's been a lot of prayers for forgiveness over the thoughts and words I've had toward an airbrush.
I can imagine.
But yeah, that's a great set, and that was probably 4 by 8. This whole piece of plywood. Yes, that is correct, Yorktown Joe. It was an entire piece of plywood. That particular set was, and I actually have pictures of it where, the middle of it. It was designed to drive in and out your vehicles, helicopters. I even my Dragonfly and my boy, I'm going blank this morning. You could fly, set right down in the middle of them, and that was a fun set. Painting is my Achilles heel. Hey, brother, you got me on that one too. That's a learning curve.
Morning,
Yeah.
Jim.
Hey. Yeah, I got fat fingers, so whenever I'm painting and stuff, the details are what gets me.
I'm just not creative. I see your work here, Campbell's work when he makes something. There's so many customizers that I'm just in awe of what you guys do.
Campbell's like the MacGyver of the custom world.
I mean, he could fix stuff that you wouldn't think could be fixed.
And,
nice. I mean, dioramas, I love dioramas because, and I'm going to ask a question that probably everybody in the chat knows I'm going to ask is, do you do any like Masters of the Universe dioramas? Because that's my jam.
So funny, it's sitting over here on the floor. It's really large. Somebody asked me if I use foam, but I made it's probably, I would say it's over 3 feet by about 2 feet. And I made a mountain that you can either put the new Castle Grayskull on, the re-release, or Snake Mountain. And I tried to use a paint theme that would work with both. And so, yes, I too love Masters of the Universe. And when they re-released all the 5.5-inch figures, oh Lord, that was. And then they ended up coming out with the 7-inch figures, and that has drained my pocketbook like nobody's business.
Yeah. For sure,
but yes,
yeah.
I would love to. I would love to actually to do more of that, but then you start to run out of space really quickly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take long to run out of space at that scale.
Yeah, I got the new Grayskull, the new Snake Mountain. I got the Eternia. I was actually kind of happy that Fright Zone sold out so quick and I couldn't get to it just because of space.
Man, that thing sold out. I didn't even know. By the time I saw it drop, it was gone.
Yeah, 20 minutes. I think they said it was gone.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. That definitely hit the hit the nerve for a lot of people wanting that. Hopefully, Big Bad or somebody like that will pick up something on the back end.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about that because I know I'll buy it and I really can't afford it right now.
Right.
Yeah. we've been called a podcast from Grayskull a time or two.
Hey, it's right there in the intro. I love my Master Universe. It's gonna be shown.
Yeah.
Well, you
And
know,
I,
is when we were kids, it was all right there, man. It was all
yeah.
right there, you know. And I lost. I don't know how, if you still have your masters from you when you were a child, but
Don't.
I lost every one of mine in my cousin's sandpit. His dog went to town overnight,
Oh no.
and yes, I lost. He-Man might be the most powerful man in the universe, but he was nothing compared to a black chocolate lab
Nope.
on my cousin's farm. So that
Oh,
was the end of that.
oh, that hurt me.
I am a bad influence.
Poor Todd.
I actually cleaned a shelf off that had classified figures in my bedroom, and now I have all of my Masterverse.
Yes, I know the Masterverse, man. It's an Achilles heel, man. You get into that. There's
Yep.
not a whole lot of things that yank my chain from when I was a child, but Joe's and He-Man are probably the major two.
Yeah.
For sure.
And they're play friendly, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yes, they are. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Of fun. Oh, I love this set right here.
That is so cool. So is that your take on the what's the the tactical battle platform?
No, actually, I had created another set that was where the tower was very similar, and then this was a spinoff of that. This was just all in my head. The two side pieces, I saw something similar. When I go on Pinterest, I'll see things that these gamers make. You know, the tabletop
Yeah.
games. Forgive me if you're into that. I know nothing about it. Up in my local mall, there's a great place, Dice Dice Head something in games, and I go in there and buy paint and things. And of course, across the way, they've got a massive. These guys play all these games, and but I'll see things every now and then. It'll spark my imagination, and I'll think, man, I wonder what that would look like or something similar in 1/18th scale. And Yeah, that's sort of where some of that came from. And there's a part of me, this is really clean looking for GI Joe, but there's a part of me like on things like this that I want to make look really nasty and third world and
Yeah.
posters and you know all kinds of I want to dirty it up some. Um, and the I probably would have more with this set and gone crazy with it and made it look more apocalyptic. But I simply ran out of time. And so, but what a fun set, and it's actually three pieces, and the tower so you can orientate it in different ways on how it works with your play.
That's awesome.
That is really cool. I love stuff like that.
On the bottom, there's a jail cell, and it actually pulls out, and it's functional. And I made it to where a little bed bunk was inside. And on the second floor, it's computer station, weapons rack, and all that fun stuff. And of course, then you have your tower where you can place your sniper and things of that nature.
Very, very cool.
That
Yeah. So there's another. There was actually three play sets, and this is the other one. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure. The first play set got snatched up pretty quick, I believe. Um, oh, very cool.
yeah.
I believe the fella and he has I think two sons, maybe three. Toy Domination is what he's called on Instagram. But they came by and snagged up I think the first set pretty quick. But there were three of them, and so all three of them went very well together. and where it's expandable and playable. And to me, it was cool. Like you could set up your 82 Joe base, and these would complement that around your 82 Joe base. And that's the thing for me is I love the 82 Joe base. I mean, absolutely love it. It was probably my first large GI Joe base that I ever got. And so, but thinking when you watch the cartoon, of course, which is I grew up with the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all these other buildings and outbuildings, and I thought, man, what would it look like if your Joe base had all these other buildings? And that's where some of that ideas came from.
Yeah. I mean, just I love world building, and
Yeah.
you're killing it with all these.
Yeah.
So very, very cool.
That's why 1/18th is the Lord scale.
Yes, glory.
112 is harder to world build. That's all I'm
Yes.
saying.
Well, it is, and this is what I know. It's the figure's twice the size, but it's 3 to 4 times the materials to build.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Where this playset may be a roll or two of filament and things of that nature. If I were to make this in 112, which again, I'd have to upgrade sizes of 3D printers as well.
Yeah.
It would be easily six rolls of material, and so it just begins to add up after a while. Um, so I find it easier if somebody says, "Man, I really like that in 1/18 scale. Can you do it in 1/12?" I'd be like, "Yes, absolutely," but I'd have to do it as as a commission work is what I'd have to
Yeah.
say. Hey, if you'll pay for the materials up front, just like in my real job. Yeah, he's into 112.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to build that in 112, but if somebody wanted to pay a small deposit and then I'd build it for them and then I could ship it out. Um, how many hours does it take to print? So back in the day, that would have taken so long that by the time it was finished, I would have forgotten what it was and wouldn't
Wow.
remember how to put it together. Um, so, um, yes, Todd, please. I have a great counselor. Get one. Um, but this particular print, probably 30 hours, maybe 40 in all. Thank you, Yorktown Joe. Appreciate that. 3D printing has gotten so much faster. Um, Matter of fact, last year when I came home from Joe Fest, was it last year, year before? I think it was year before. I actually sold every printer I had and repurchased new ones because 3D printing went from something that would take 20 hours down to 4 hours. And so
Wow.
3D printing has come to the point where, and I kid you not, I would send something to the printer, come down 3 days later, and forget what it was for. I would literally forget. And I'd be like, what in the world does this part go to? Because everything you have to splice up and assemble because of the size of the printing plates. And now I send it to the printer and it's done in 4 or 5 hours. And so with 12 printers running constantly, I can pump a set out like this in one day, where before that
Nice.
particular set would have probably taken me a week or more
Yeah.
to create. And so, shout out to all the guys out there making 3D printers. Appreciate you. So
Cool.
this particular set, I just called it my landing platform. Somebody commented, "What are you going to land on it?" I was like, "Come on, man, 747. I don't know." This is super sci-fi. I get I get I get torn between. I love to do I love sci-fi. Period.
Yeah.
Uh, and I get really torn because again, we have a large Star Wars collection. Um, and having four boys, raising four boys, you have an excuse as an adult to to buy whatever you want toy wise. But yeah, this is one of those projects that I had made, and I couldn't decide where it was going. Yes, very much so. And so very much in the line with Kenner. And I kept thinking of my own Star Wars Death Star from a kid. And I thought, man, this would be cool with something like that. And so just you could Star Wars landing platform or even a Cobra one and put your just anything you wanted to as far as that. But it's just a cool, fun set. Um, and it's modular in the sense of the walls come off. Some of those platforms that connect it, those are removable, and so it has a little bit of functionality to it that would keep that would keep somebody interested in it.
It is great. It has a really cool tower.
And we pronounce that Beta Ray, Bob.
Beta Ray Bob. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, Beta Ray. Thank you so much.
Beta Ray Bob here. He's a pretty much a 1/18th scale collector.
Oh, nice. Todd, you're into it. He's into a lot.
Yes.
I would be curious to ask Todd if he's buying up the new mask that Big Bad just came out with.
I priced them and they are out of my range.
Yeah.
Me too. They would be cool. They look great.
Yeah, they look great, but I can't drop $117 on a vehicle.
I think they look fantastic too.
Yeah.
I remember Mask as a child.
Yep.
But I didn't enjoy it the way I did, and I think it's because of scale. Oh,
Yeah.
look at here. That Smokescreen Primus, man, that is one fun, crazy brother. So this particular set is all wood with 3D printed doors, windows, and greebles. The cannons, the blue cannons, are 3D printed. Of course, the tower is. But that was a fun set. That was probably the last wood set that I've built, and it's actually designed for 1/18 scale.
Mhm.
But he is a 1/12 scale guy. If you ever watch any of his videos, he's hilarious. And that dude loves the world build. And I don't know. He must have. I don't know where he gets all these stacks of cash. God bless him for it. He's got more 6-inch action figures than anybody I've ever seen on the planet. But yeah, so he has modded that to work with his 6-inch guys, and it actually sort of does work. But that was a fun set, and he's been after me. Smokescreen, I'm sorry. He's been after me to build him a second floor to that. And time has not been on my side for that.
Yeah. Time is I mean, we have to work and we want to spend time with our families and have to sleep. So, yeah.
Yes, sleeping is good, and sometimes I'll be down here on the computer and I feel bad, and so you come home after work, and I try to spend time with my wife and my kids before I sneak off down to the basement.
Family's key.
Yes. And then sometimes my wife's like, "Aren't you going to be in the basement?" And so she'll give me permission every now and then. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Are you trying to say something?" Oh, yes.
That is cool.
That is my Crimson Towers. I made that specifically for the Crimson Twins.
Nice.
That set is mostly wood, with some 3D printed greeble on it. If you look down to the right there, well, I guess to my right, but it would be the left-hand side of the set, you can see where those vents down there are starting to curl up. So this particular set with two other sets, I talk about Kelly and Richard Mix from Full Circle Tour down in Newnan, Georgia. They're down there. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but down there, 85 South, there was a mall in that area. All that's been mowed down years ago, and they built the movie studios that now, we see Marvel and all these other companies now film down there. So it's like the George's Hollywood. Well, that's not very far from where Full Circle Toy is. And so a couple of years ago, there was a movie about Beanie Babies. I believe it was called The Beanie Bubble, and came out on Apple TV. And so Richard and Kelly contacted me and said they had to build a toy fair with 80 booths in it from 1994. So they were looking for toys that were not licensed. And so they called me and they said, "Hey, can we borrow some of your dioramas to put in this movie?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I said, "If you want to borrow my toys, we're friends. That's what friends do." And so they were like, "How much money do you want?" And I was like, "What do you mean money?" And I said, "Look, you're my friend. If you need to borrow my toys, you borrow my toys." I said, "And have fun." I said, "Just bring them back to me the same way I gave them to you." Anyway, long story short, um, they used them for the movies. It was very cool, and I was super excited about that. I said, "All I want is my name, in the credits. That would be cool." Because I, like everybody else, you look for your last name in the credits. But yeah, um, it took me a while to get down there and pick them up from them, and by the time I did, the heat in their building had gotten to some of the parts, which I think is funny. I haven't replaced it yet because I just think it's kind of cool now. It gives a little character. But that is a fun play set. It's a large play set. It's heavy, um, and I love this. This is my kind of jam right here. If I were to build for me personally, and I still have this set. Um,
Nice.
some of the other sets that have actually been sold, and people have bought them off of me. And there's a lot of sets I've made over the years that I miss. I'll make them once because it's truly a one-off, and especially the wood stuff, because the wood sets is me going out into the garage, and I just start building. And it'll usually hit me in a moment of inspiration, and I just don't stop until I'm done. And there's no measurements, there's no blueprints, there's no plans. It's just all in my head. And this was one of those sets. And so, but it's perfect because your his tanks fit up underneath it. They can park in the back. It's just a lot of fun.
I have not seen Larry. I miss him too. I love it whenever he's on here.
Oh,
Is this the
nice.
backside of that?
It is.
Oh
Okay,
wow!
so this was back when my 3D printer the build plate was really small. And so, but that piece, the blue piece up there in the top, all my sons sleep with box fans, from Walmart. And that blue piece up on the top floor, that came from a box fan. I cut it up.
Nice.
Uh, and so, uh, but yeah, computers and screens and little greebles. Um, to me, that's what makes it fun. Yorktown Joe, thank you for that question. Yes, that Silent Castle. Matter of fact, I just bought a
More
massive
Larry.
book with that Silent Castle in it, and yes, I would love to create that Silent Castle.
That
Yeah,
would
that
be
would be cool.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, and there's somebody out there who's made it, and I don't know who it is. I'm sure you guys have seen it online, floating around the internet, um, and did a fantastic job on it. And as a guy, I did not do comic books growing up. There it is. There's the shot from the Beanie Bubble movie. So
Okay.
they use my diorama sets with Strike Force Alpha figures with Matt LaCroix, and yeah, I understand that there's a snippet of this in the movie. I have not actually seen the movie myself, uh, but yeah, how cool is that, man?
That is cool.
So the set on the left is actually a GI Joe base, and it's been sold.
Oh,
Oh, So this is Marauder Task Force. This is Ed American from Marauder, and what a talented photographer. Just such a talented guy. I wish I had that kind of talent.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't take a picture to save my life.
Yep. You can make the stuff for the picture though.
Yeah.
100%.
That's
You
my
did.
contribution. Yeah, so those are my play sets, bunkers and things, and he just brings it to life, man.
I like
Just
that Mercer
brings it.
figure.
Oh, that Mercer figures. Let me just tell you, I'm so addicted to Marauder Task Force. Yes, he does take the best pictures. I've I've probably exceeded 200 or 300 of those Marauder figures. Yeah, man. When he showed me this, and I have posters of this. I actually have them hanging. I have them hanging on my wall behind me, over here on the other side of the room, and I absolutely just love it, get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Um, Ed, if you're watching and you need something, just call me. I'll send them to you. Ronnie, listen, I am so bad with a camera. If I take a picture of myself, I don't even know what you look like, but it probably look like you. That's how bad I am with a camera. I can, people say, well, you have an iPhone. I said, yeah, I've got tennis shoes too, but that doesn't make me a runner.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah,
mean,
that's a skill set.
it is.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my.
Yeah, man. So this particular set is all wood. Um, I love that set. I love that set so much that I actually recreated it as a 3D print. Um, and one of my first bunkers, and man, I just love that set. A lot of fun there. A lot of playability.
That is cool.
If I'm doing a set from beginning to end, um, if I'm building out of wood, sometimes it'll take me 4 to 8 hours to build something. Depending on what I'm building. Then I have to paint it. There's a couple more hours there. 3D printing things. Let me just put it to you this way. I come back from Joe Fest every year, and I'll take July and August off. And by September, I'm back to designing, and I will print all the way up through the spring. And by the time the weather has broke here, I start painting, and I will paint for about 2 months on everything that I've done. And so it's really something I spend most of my year on. Um, but to do one set from beginning to end, I can turn it around in a week or two, depending on the size of the set. The Eagle Mountain or Eagle Force mountain play sets, those took me about a month to print and paint and get ready to ship out. And believe me, sometimes by the time I'm done with it and I've packed it up, if you open it up on your end, you will be smelling fresh paint. Uh,
Wow.
you know, you know,
You,
I, I
you
just,
put a lot of love into this.
it's passion more than anything. Somebody came up to the booth and asked me, they said, man, are you breaking even? Are you making any money? I went, absolutely not. But I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah.
This would have probably never taken off without Ed, um, from Joe Fest. Him and Matt, years ago, 2015, like I said, we were in transition, and I had moved from, everything I had known in Georgia out to Texas. And it was a real culture shock, believe it or not. And I met them again down at Full Circle Toy in Noonan, and they befriended me, and we went out to eat, and then we went to Joe Lana at the time, and they grabbed me, and pulled me into their little circle. And then I'll never forget Ed was telling me that he was going to start Joe Fest, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he called me after the first year that he did it and going into the second year and said, hey, man, you should build some stuff and just bring it. I was like, oh, okay. And so I built some things and brought it, and he put me beside Matt in a booth. I didn't sell one thing that year. Didn't sell nothing, but I learned a lot, and I had a great time. And yeah, the next year we came back, and I'd made some stuff, and I think I sold $800 worth of stuff, and I thought, oh wow, this is amazing. And then came back the third year and sold more stuff, and then every year it's just gotten better and better and better. And again, it's there's no profit in it right now for me personally, uh, but I think I make enough to break even, and even better yet, I make enough to where I can take that cash and buy more Joes, and that's really what's important. But don't tell my wife I said that.
That is the most important part.
And anytime you can use your hobby to pay for your hobby,
Yep.
that's perfect.
Isn't
Yeah.
that golden?
Yep.
Absolutely golden. I love that Cobra bunker. When I was a kid, I loved my Cobra bunker, but I always got frustrated with the fact that it fell apart.
Yeah.
And so recreating those bunkers was a joy, and I still have a few of them. But what Ed did with them with the photographs is absolutely crazy. That's right. The fourth oldest in Waffle House, I think. That's right.
Yeah.
Man,
So there's a story behind that. We
okay.
all piled in the vehicles, and we drove to the nearest Waffle House, which is in South Carolina. And we found out that was the fourth oldest Waffle House in South Carolina, I think. It is the longest running Waffle House. And so that became our joke among our crew. It was, the Waffle House I went to, it was the fourth. Did you know it was the fourth oldest one in the area?
No, I think fourth oldest overall.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
still the oldest one still operating.
Okay.
And they were popping and cracking, man. I'm telling you what, they were on top of it.
I bet. I'm from Georgia, and Lilith, 1978, I believe. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. I'm from Georgia, and so it was really weird to move from Georgia to Tennessee. Literally, where I lived in my hometown, there were 6 Waffle Houses, and where I live now, there's only 2, and it's bizarre. And so you'll go out on Saturday morning, and it's hard to get inside of one of them.
I'm so jealous because for me, I have to drive almost 2 hours to get to a Waffle House.
Oh Lord, I don't think I could live there, brother. No sir, no sir. You got to have a Home Depot, a Chick-fil-A, and a Waffle House within. If your car broke down, you could ride your 10-speed to get there. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't like it here then. That is so cool.
Man, that is Ed again from Marauders, and I can't begin to tell you how much I love those guys. And the Skeletron guys I was getting to know this year. And those dinosaur figures, oh my goodness, are these things awesome or what? I couldn't help myself. I had to get a few of them this year. I'm not even into dinosaurs, but man, these things are what a cool thing.
Yeah.
Every year they team up with somebody, and this year they did the Dino Hunters. And then they had the Wayward Goats collectibles. They had the Marv. And who doesn't need another Marv in their life? You know what I mean? Those vehicles are absolutely awesome. But I love what Ed does as far as a diorama every year. I think the little bunker busters are in there are mine, and a few of the rocks.
So Larry asked, he's in Nashville. What part of Tennessee are you in?
I'm in Clee, Vegas. I say that as a joke. Cleveland, Tennessee, where Lee College is. Don't ask me how I got here, but yeah, this is where I live. If you would have told me, being from Atlanta, Georgia, that one day I'd live in Cleveland, Tennessee, I would have said, "You crazy, out of your mind."
That is so cool. And that fits for Star Wars. That really nails it. Or anything sci-fi.
Yes, this piece is actually sitting behind me, which is I've got a fella who right now has been texting back and forth with. He wants this piece pretty bad. Cleveland, go go the Browns. Yes, I'm not in the real Cleveland. I'm in the knockoff Cleveland. Um, that's right. I live in the KO. Yeah, this set right here is so this set is possible because I was able before Joe Fest to purchase some larger build plate 3D printers um, that actually work. I can't begin to tell you how many thousands of dollars I've spent on 3D printers that simply never functioned. Um,
Really.
yeah, it's you want bigger, you want bigger. Um, that's right. Ronnie, that's never gonna leave my world. Timu Cleveland. Um, that's never gonna leave. But yeah, 3D printing is expensive. I've probably bought every brand known. And you want these massive build plates. I mean, I wish there were printers out there, and I wish I was. I am not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a creative person, and so in the designing and finishing is where I live, and so it's really hard to you spend $1,000 or so on a printer that says it can build, has a large build plate of 16 inches by 16 inches or something crazy like that. Then you get them and you happen to get the one that was made on Friday and everybody's, ready to get home. And so that one didn't work. And I've bought large format 3D printers, several of the same ones, and would have them side by side. And one would work perfectly and the other one wouldn't function at all. And absolutely frustrating
Oh
to
yeah.
no end. And yeah, and you spend all this money, and I've probably had 30 or more printers just through different varying manufacturers. And so when I find a manufacturer creates a 3D printer that just functions well, I tend to stick with that. But because I was able to get a larger format 3D printer, because what I print mostly is 8 inches by 8 inches. This one will do 12 inches, almost 12 inches by 12 inches. And so now I'm able to build larger prints. Um, and so that particular set, which is behind me, absolutely love that set. What a what a what I wouldn't have done as a 12-year-old to have that,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Yeah, pretty much.
We don't Here in Tennessee, we don't call them squirrels. We call them tree chicken. That's what we call them, tree chicken.
It's what's for lunch.
That's absolutely right. Yep. Uh-oh. I got bit it.
So Lilith wants to know if you have a dream project.
I do. The opening scene of G.I. Joe, where they're storming the beach there, and Cobra Terradrome is up there on the mountain with the Cobra head. That's what's always in my mind. Um, Probably not a day that doesn't go by. I've got it. It's all in there. Uh, chicken of the tree. It just has it because of scale. Um, yeah, but yeah, it's in my mind. And I've got a buddy of mine who, really good friend of mine, down in Georgia, who his name is Chris Moore, Moore Art Studio. Um, he does things with foam that don't seem possible. Um, he's so ridiculously talented. But I've wanted to team up with him to create that cobra head rising above the mountain, and then create the mountain where your actual Terradrome would fit on top of it, and then underneath it have a motor pool and other things like that. And so, yeah, that's probably my dream project. Um, when one day I get to retire and I've got more time that I know what to do with it, hanging around the house, and my wife sends me down to the basement and won't let me come back upstairs, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the dream.
You should make a pit.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Bro, I've also got I've got a pit idea. The very first, remember I told you back in the day when I built my first one in the basement, I want to recreate that. And this was when I was into the same techniques you use for trains. So it's foam,
Hmm.
and it's I can't remember what you call that material. You roll it out and you place it over it, and you get it wet. Anyway, I can't remember what
Yeah.
it's called. Um, yeah, I built one. It was literally, it was 4 feet by 8 feet, and it was about 4 feet tall. And the your 82 base set on top of it, and then the mountain scaled down to a plateau where there was a landing pad. Then the mountain went up again, where you could place your missile launchers on it, and underneath it was actually 3 levels.
Wow.
And so I still think about that all the time. And then again, you just get into where would I put it?
Right.
But I've got 2 grown sons who are married and doing well out of the house, and my third one is about to go to college. The only problem is that, and Casey, I'm sure you know this, and Eric, you may notice they keep multiplying. And so the wife doesn't seem to, now they're all for the grandkids.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
I thought I'd be able to take over couple of these rooms and put dioramas in them, but I don't foresee that happening.
No, I'm lucky to have the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Half
I'm
of the
lucky.
basement.
We have a really small house, so my collection is banned to the cellar house.
Right
So,
on.
but which is like a small apartment, but still, there's
Yeah.
no heat, there's no air conditioning. It's miserable out there.
Have I thought about doing vehicles? Yes, I get that question quite often. Um, this goes back to the fact that I am not uh, an engineer in any way, shape, or form. Um, I am a contractor, and so my brain thinks of building structures, things of that nature. I have done some. I don't know if you can see in the background there. I've modified some Joe vehicles in the past. Up there above my shoulder here,
Is that a
you'll
Havoc?
see it is. It is,
Oh,
and you'll see those massive wheels on it, and then that is a that's painted purple. Mamba, I believe it's called. No,
yeah.
what am I thinking of? The has the yellow legs, the 3 pieces that pops apart. Um, so I have modified some 1/18th vehicles, and I enjoy doing that personally. Um, and But I've not gotten into, and there are a couple of vehicles I would love to make. Um, I'm not mechanical enough. Is I feel like, um, but and the software that I use is free, and I'm even after years of using it, there's still a lot involved in that. When you start to do things with curves and that kind of things, and wheel
Yeah.
wells and things of that nature, it starts to get difficult.
That I dig what you do. Next year, Joe Fest, I'll probably have to start dropping some money on you. I apologize for not being able to this year. I have meager funds, but
Well, brother, that's what I struggle with is, and this is what I would love to have feedback from the Joe community on, um, is scale. Um, how what is a optimal size place set that somebody would want in their collection, um, and how much are they willing to spend on it? The good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Jason.
I struggled with this going into it, where the first couple of years what I heard was, I do not have room for that. And then the 1/12 scale stuff came out, and then I realized, no, you do have room for that. It's what you want to have room for.
Yeah.
And I thought, don't get your feelings hurt, Bobby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And so now I've tried to create sets like this one and this one right here that are a little bit smaller in scale.
Oh,
Fun
that's
little
cool.
bunkers. And this is forgive me, I'll try to do this here. There's 2-tiered. So then, you got, of course, looks like it's been ransacked by Cobra.
Yeah.
Has a desk and things in it. Something that's small enough to where it can fit on your shelf. What I call the IKEA shelf principle. But it has a lot of playability to it. Any 3D print lines or models you recommend for those interested in beginning to dabble? Yes. Yorktown Joe, if you want to lose your mind and get into 3D printing, here's the thing you need to think about, though. The moment you get into 3D printing, that's going to take all of your action figure money, by the way, in case you don't know. There's the big downside. But yes, if I were to recommend a line, Flash Forge is what I would recommend. As far as they're financially affordable and they are easy to use straight out of the box, easy setup, and they just work. Once it doesn't take a lot to dial them in, it's mostly automatic, and once it's dialed in, it just works. 99% success rate versus failure. So, but yeah, Flash Forge would probably be my recommendation as far as getting started.
Nice.
Cool.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I was just saying that's very cool.
We're closing in on an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So, can you let people know where they can find your stuff? I mean, do you do online sales? Do you have a website?
I do not have a website or a catalog per se. I am on Instagram, Crimson Toys on Instagram and on Facebook. You can inbox me. I have a lot of customers, and I just give them my phone number a lot of the times, and we'll text back and forth and things of that nature. I am. This is at this stage in life, this is my hobby and what I like to do for fun. And hopefully there'll come a day when I retire, I can get more into that. I do have a page on what do they call that? Evil Bay. And so and I sell on there sometimes. A lot of times my sales are done through, Facebook or Instagram, just instant messaging, over PayPal or some secured way of
Yeah.
being able to pay monies back and forth. And then of course we ship out. I generally ship out only through UPS. And so, but yeah, they can always contact me on Instagram or Facebook through Messenger.
So that's Crimson Toys on
Instagram
and Facebook. Nice.
Yes, sir. We're on there, both of them, and then I try to check those things. I'm not on social media every day. Matter of fact, I can't find my social media on my own iPhone, but it's there. I promise it's there. So let's see what it says here. I go there. Try to switch over. Let's see. And it's not taking me there. Of course, you got to know how to use the app in order for the app to work. But yeah, Crimson Toys. I wish I was, I wish I grew up with this stuff, but I'm like you fellas. I'm 52 years old.
Yeah.
That's what I have teenagers for.
Right. I'm 53. I'm not very computer savvy, although I do have a computer job, which makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I'm a janitor. It's safe.
Hey, good morning, Lawrence.
Hey, Lawrence.
Punk with Toys. I like watching your videos. Thank you.
Yeah, his videos are awesome
Yeah,
and honest. I like that.
yeah.
Yes.
He does a good job.
Yep. Yeah, he does.
Has anybody got any final questions before we roll out of here?
You ever thought of doing a Delta 17?
Oh,
diorama?
those Delta 17 guys are phenomenal, aren't they?
Yeah.
My youngest son, he bought that same figure pack that you did this year at Joe Fest. He absolutely loves them, and every year he comes, he gets them, and he doesn't even collect 1/18 scale stuff. But he'll get a Marauder figure, and now he gets the O-rings from them, and so yeah, I would love to. If those guys, somebody ever contacted me, I'd absolutely love to build them, a showpiece that they can take with them on the road. That'd be fantastic. Yes, let's make a Waffle House. Now
I
we're
need a
talking.
1/18 Waffle House.
That way you have one close to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ronnie.
Thank you, Ronnie.
That's hilarious. They should make a Waffle House action figure. That would be amazing.
That would be.
Would it be a woman who could catch a chair? Have you seen that video?
Catches it by the leg and throws it back.
I'm not messing with anybody at Waffle House.
No.
That could be her. That could be her accessory.
Yeah. Bobby, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, sir.
Very informative, and
Yeah.
definitely gonna check into your Instagram a little bit more. I get some spare cash. I gotta build my world here.
I do too.
Thank you guys for having me. Casey, when I get done with this He-Man deal, I need to meet you somewhere and give it to you. That way you can have it for your Castle Grayskull.
That would be awesome.
That would be. I would love it for somebody. I get the greatest joy when I build something for a collector and it becomes their centerpiece. That to me is where it's at.
That would be cool.
Yes, thank you. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
but
man.
Everybody, we'll see you next Saturday. Bobby, once again, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Everybody have a great weekend.
Have a great week.